stop. Slow motion. I wanna see.
The Obama and Biden administration used to destroy countless jobs, and the jobs have been just decimated. Although they're all
Is it just me or is he slurring more than usual? I mean, I get that like older people slur, I guess, but it's like he really seems like he's struggling to like get some basic syllables out these days.
coming back because of tariffs. They're all coming back into our country at levels we've never seen before. But it raised prices and caused immense harm to the U.S. auto industry. We thought irreparable, but we've got them back. We're coming back now. I was in Detroit, as you know, with Ford, and they had one of the earliest plants from the.
Yo, literally couldn't even go into Ford without somebody calling him a PDF file protector, literally. And then the guy that yelled that out to him got like $1 million on GoFundMe. Like, I'm not even joking.
1900s, and it was going to be closed down. And then when I won, they said, let's keep it open for a little while. Let's see what happens. And they just announced, as you know, they're going 24 hours around the clock with that same plant that was going to be closed because of what we've done. For example, under the endangerment finding, they forced the hated start-stop feature onto American consumers, which unnecessarily shuts off a car's engine.
I mean, I feel like one of the best telltale signs that we're in a fascist administration is that the government officials only talk about how great everything is. Like, no one's ever talking about let's solve a problem. Like, the problem is always just whoever's trying to take power away from us, right? It's like he's starting this this official correspondence by just sucking himself off for like, it's already been a minute. Who knows how long he's even going to go before he gets to what he's even talking about.
You stop at a red light. In other words, the engine goes off. That's great. The endangerment finding was also used to impose the massive and really very expensive electric vehicle mandate. Expensive in the sense that nobody wanted it. Everybody was going to be forced to buy an electric car in a very short period of time, even though you can't power the car because we would have had to spend $5 trillion on power stations. That's all dead, gone, over.
This is like boring, bureaucratic, energy infrastructural things, but I'm just going to assume that every single thing he's saying is a lie. Like, whatever he's saying about this stuff, the exact opposite is true. Like, if they said that they need to build a bunch of power stations, then that probably means that like they're throwing the power stations at them for free. Like, literally, like, it's just double speak, some 1984 shit, bro. Like, whatever he's saying, fuck that. But hopefully he gets to what the fuck he's talking about, bro. Like, Jesus.
Restrictions were a major factor in driving up car prices to unprecedented levels.
Dang.
And the car that you were getting was not nearly as good. In 4 years under the Biden administration, the price of a new and used car rose more than 22%, all to facilitate the Green New Scam without achieving any meaningful impact on the environment, but making the car worse.
I mean, I don't give a fuck if the car is made worse, if the environment even has a chance of being made better than the point that it's at right now. I don't think Biden was really hyper successful in doing any kind of like green stuff. And the Green New Deal never happened, by the way. It's, that's just a twinkle in like AOC's eye and shit, bro. Like, the Green New Deal never happened. Now, there were some climate, there were some provisions for the climate made under Biden, but pretty much all of them got reversed as soon as Trump got back in office, right? So nothing meaningful was achieved because that stuff takes years to achieve, bro. And unfortunately in America, like, the baton just keeps getting passed back and forth between two psychotic groups. You know what I mean? Or one psycho group and then one simp group. So it's like we're just kind of going in circles and just getting a little bit worse every time we go down the spiral.
That's why, effective immediately, we're repealing the ridiculous endangerment finding and terminating all additional green emission standards imposed unnecessarily on vehicle models and engines between 2012 and 2027 and beyond.
I mean, this kind of goes without saying, but he's just doing this because he's in the auto industry's pocket, right? Like, he is personally getting enriched in some form by fossil fuel type vehicles. And now he is just, being the little puppet that he is for corporate interests, right? he's kind of trying to play it off like it's not that big of a deal in a way. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we're just going to roll back the findings that climate change emissions are bad for people. Like, that's kind of insane, right? You know? And I know like people don't really care about climate change, global warming as much as they did maybe as when I was a kid, when that was like the main thing, kind of like microplastics are now. It's like, yo, climate change, they're going to get you. But I mean, it's still a huge problem that's never been resolved, you know? And for a little while there, it looked like the various nations across the world were going to do something to make sure that their sky isn't fucking gray with smog. But now that the United States is rolling it back, like, I wouldn't be surprised if China rolls it back and the UK rolls it back. It's like, all right, well, you guys aren't giving a fuck about the environment, so why should we? We're going to fall behind economically, you know? It's really sad from a scientific perspective, really.
This action will save American consumers trillions of dollars and will
I doubt it. Trillions of dollars? I doubt it.
lower the average cost of a new vehicle by close to $3,000. Think of that. During my
Think of
campaign,
that.
I promised to cut 10 old regulations for every new regulation. And we've exceeded that. We've instead done it 10 regulations. We were able to cut 129. So now we cut 129. So think of that. I promised to cut 10 old regulations for every new one, but we did more than 10. We did 129.
I definitely agree that certain things are too regulated. Like, you know, for instance, like building shelters for the homeless, right? I think that's too regulated. Or just building houses for people that need houses in general. Like, definitely too regulated. Regulations slow things down. Regulations make it so you have to go through hoops to get necessary things. But regulations also make sure that shit is straight, right? The shit is right. Buildings have regulations, right? You know, the police have regulations because we need to know that every time that we interact with this, you know, societal structure, that it'll, you know, not be fucked up, right? So it's like environmental protection regulations, right? Kind of make sure that the planet that we live in is fucking livable at all. And here's the thing. Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about this shit. It's like he doesn't care about climate change because he's old as hell. And if we're being really honest here, it's like I'm 26, right? Chances are like the worst of climate change are only going to be just getting started by the time that I'm an old man, right? So it's going to be a hard sell to people to why they should sacrifice money now to preserve the planet, right? Especially if they don't even have like a family or just like a reason to give a fuck about society at all, which more and more people are kind of getting to that point, right? I mean, you know, who even knows what's gonna, is this just gonna accelerate whatever doom is impending for us, you know, obviously.
It's something nobody can even believe it. So we did a lot of regulation cutting in the first administration, a record, nobody even close to it now. We're actually exceeding it in this administration. The biggest one yet that we've done is happening right now. So perhaps no industry has benefited more from our historic deregulation campaign than the U.S. auto industry. We canceled the EPA's absurd, just totally absurd.
He's struggling. He's struggling, right? I mean, he always was a poor reader, by the way. But he's slurring in the way that's like his tongue doesn't fit in his mouth. He's just. I think he probably had a stroke, right? You know, I really try to be like not conspiratorial, like let's just focus on the facts that we have here. But I mean, his behavior is congruent with someone that had a stroke, in my opinion.
Tailpipe emission standards, which was a disaster for automobile manufacturing, and revoked Biden's emissions waiver that would have allowed California to regulate automobiles for the entire nation. And they're crazy out in California. They have nothing but trouble out there, as you know. That's why people are leaving in record numbers. I also ended Joe Biden's extreme cafe emission standards, saving the average American consumer much more than $1,000 when they buy a new car. But now we're talking about close to $3,000. These regulation cuts, combined with our tax cuts and tariffs, are the reason why the world's largest automakers have announced that they're going to be spending in excess of $100 billion in the United States in the next very short period of time, building new auto plants.
Look, are they going to honor that? Maybe if Trump stays in power, right? Or maybe if they get some kind of guarantee from the Democrats that the exact deal that they had with Trump would be continued. But most likely there's going to be some kind of political turmoil that makes them back out of it when all this, when America gets out of this fever dream, right? And also, it's very possible that we get deeper into the sickness with maybe like a JD Vance or like a Ron DeSantis presidency, right? But I mean, I don't think that these auto plants are going to get built, put it like that. And then even if they were built, nobody wants to fucking work at a fucking car manufacturing plant. No American wants that shit, okay? This ain't 8 Mile, okay? And look, there's nothing bad about that work. There's not anything dishonorable about that work, but I think most Americans, especially ones that are educated or have aspirations of becoming high earners, don't really want to do blue collar work that's dangerous. That's just it. I don't, right? I don't want to. I mean, I guess I would if I had to, but if the economy gets to the point where people have to, then America would kind of suck if all we have is fucking manufacturing and shit. Like, even China's backing off that shit now. Like, a service economy ain't a bad thing. I do think that there should be some more manufacturing in America, but forcing all of this at once is not realistic at all.
We're bringing our auto plants, assembly plants, and factories roaring back to life, not even mentioning AI and all of the other things. We're building thousands of businesses in the United States. And if you remember, on my first day, they said if I could ever get the Dow up to 50,000.
But the Dow's 50,000. Yo, the memes about that shit is hilarious, bro. But, like, who gives a fuck? I mean, who gives a fuck if the Dow is above 50,000? That's literally what got Joe Biden ousted out this bitch, bro. Because he was like, oh, bro, the economy's great. The stock market is doing well. Duh. Of course the rich are getting richer, motherfucker. That's the problem. Because it can only go so high until, the plebs revolt. And then nobody has any money then, huh? Ay.
In my last year, in other words, in the fourth year, that it would be an unbelievable miracle. But don't worry about it because it'll never happen, they said. And if I could get the S&P up to 7,000, they said in the fourth year, they said it will never happen. Let's not even talk about it. I have things. Let's not even waste.
Yo, this is also, to me, just like, also, if you had a stroke and you're not evil, I'm not making fun of you, okay? I'm making fun of him because he's evil. Like, you know what I'm saying? But this to me just illustrates like the issue of like having a billionaire for the president. Like, I feel like the president of the United States should be, for the most part, average, right? Like, I definitely want them to be successful and accomplished, but they should be the average successful and accomplished person. Someone that went to school, kept their nose clean, like, fucking, all the stuff, all the presidential stuff, right? Those norms were there for a reason. I think they weren't such a bad idea. You know what I mean? Trump doesn't even have any history of public service before coming into office. Like, he was never on a fucking city committee council. What the fuck? You're running the whole country? Because a billionaire doesn't, or just any business owner, right? Like, I don't even know if a business owner should be the president because it's like, they're amoral. Like, I want the American government to represent a certain level of morality, right? Like, a country's morals basically inform how it interacts on the world stage. Like, we have values here of freedom, of fucking self-determination, like all that shit, like whatever. But a business owner, a billionaire, is gonna see it more in terms of, okay, if you're not helping the vision, my unitary vision, then get the fuck out, right? You're fired. Like, that's literally what he said on The Apprentice and shit. Like, you're fired. We can't fire Americans. Like, we're all Americans. All Americans have to go somewhere. They're either going to be out on the street causing trouble, or they're going to be safe at home in their warm ass houses, fucking with their 2.5 kids and their refrigerator full of food, right? Some people are going to be harder to get to that point than others, but we're only as good as our worst member, right?
Now stop. Slow motion. I wanna see.
Protection Agency has repealed its own landmark Obama-era assessment that greenhouse gases threaten public health and welfare. Public health and environmental groups warn today's changes could lead to many more premature deaths and a rise in asthma attacks in the coming decades. Until today's shift, which is expected to be challenged in court, the so-called endangerment finding has been the legal foundation for many of the federal government's climate regulations.
I'm no scientist, right? I feel like greenhouse gases being bad for the environment is like some day one obvious shit, right? Like, duh. Like, you know what I mean? It's like all that smoke going in the sky. Like, look, I smoke hella weed. I don't think that smoke is healing my bones or nothing. Like, smoke destroys. Like, what the fuck? I don't know.
Has more, and it's part of our ongoing series, Tipping Point.
The EPA first made that assessment in 2009 after an exhaustive review of the scientific evidence, which showed that greenhouse gases were dangerously warming the planet and exacerbating extreme weather events and air pollution. Under the Clean Air Act, that meant the EPA was then obligated to regulate that pollution. But today, President Trump called that finding a scam
How is that a scam? Like, you're not a scientist. What do you mean? Like, do you have some counter information that we don't have? Like, how could that be a scam? You know? Like, it's just the abuse of language that pisses me off too. Ever since like alternative facts, like, it can't be a scam. It's what's scientifically been proven and discovered internationally across the world. You could fucking do an experiment in your backyard and see the greenhouse effect. What the hell?
no legal or scientific basis. His EPA administrator, Lee Zeldin, called it the single largest act of deregulation in American history.
I'm sure it is. What are this guy's credentials, bro? Did he go to school? Is he a doctor? You know what I mean? Like, you feel me? Like, and look, I'm no big fan of like mainstream education, but I do want certain people to have degrees, right? Like, I want proof on the record that you know what the hell you're talking about. Like, I'm not going into the doctor and fucking just going to some fucking business appointee that studied up real hard on Google to fix me. Like, fuck that, bro. What the fuck? What a clown country we live in.
The 2009 Obama EPA endangerment finding is now eliminated. This action will save American taxpayers over $1.3 trillion.
You're the EPA head. Who gives a fuck about how much money it saves people? Who gives a fuck? I mean, and look, I get it. Like, you know what I mean? Someone, like a politician that I respect currently is Zohran Mamdani, because he very much focuses it on financial stability of the American people. If people can eat, if people can afford to have good lives, then it makes them more likely to care about more macro things about the country. But the independence of these individual branches of the executive government are so corrupted that I think people are starting to forget that their job is not to suck the president's dick. Okay? Like, the attorney general is independent. Like, they're someone that studied the law their whole life, and now they're the most powerful legal person in the country, and the president appoints them, yeah, but, like, you know, they, in theory, they would have hired someone that's such a badass that they have their own unique vision for how shit ought to go, right? And those two people work together, and the average of what they want is what we experience, right? That's how it's supposed to work. But now Trump just abused it so easily, like Purple Tie McGee over here. It's so easy to manipulate and destroy because, okay, I'm just going to put in lackeys. I'm just going to do crony capitalism. I'm just going to, like, I'm surprised we didn't have some kind of protection for this. I mean, I guess, I'm just ranting, but it's like, I guess they were approved by Congress, which is full of Democrats. I don't know why the Democrats approved any one of these bizarre motherfuckers. Now look at it. Like, you know, the U.S. government is saying, hey, climate change, don't fucking worry about it. Like, what the fuck? They're laughing at us in China. They're fucking laughing at us. Even everybody knows that shit. Like, oh my God, it's so stupid.
What that means is lower prices, more choices, and an end of heavy-handed climate policies.
Environmental advocates warned that this would worsen public health and deal a major blow to any attempts by the U.S. to lessen the impacts of climate change. For more on today's announcement, we are joined now by Maxine Joselo. She's a climate reporter for the New York Times. Maxine, thank you so much for being here. This original finding came out of a Supreme Court ruling, Massachusetts versus the EPA, which said, yes, you can consider carbon pollution a pollutant, but you have to prove that it's detrimental to human health, which the Obama administration did. Since that time, how has the endangerment finding been used by the federal government?
That's exactly right. And
Look, Obama had a lot of mistakes, but I don't think he was like asleep at the wheel or anything. Like, he did do a lot of infrastructural changes for the United States that people are still benefiting from. Like the Obama administration proving scientifically that climate change fucks up human health helps the American people in the long run. Like, Obamacare, subsidized healthcare, that helps people in the long run. Now, he should have been way more radical. He had the mandate to be way more radical, but, and again, it's like his legacy is actively being destroyed by Trump. It's so crazy because it's like the few things that Obama was able to pull off with the Republicans against him, Donald Trump is just finishing the job, making sure that those shits are completely irrelevant now.
the endangerment finding did not, in and of itself, set any new climate regulations, but it formed the legal and scientific basis for those regulations. And in particular, the Obama EPA used it as the justification to set the first limits ever on greenhouse gas emissions from cars, trucks, and eventually from power plants that burn coal or natural gas to make electricity.
That's fucking based. That's fucking based. It shouldn't be, but yeah, like, I don't give a fuck about the industries. You're destroying the planet. Like, we're gonna put some barriers in place to protect people.
And in the intervening years, there's been a back and forth between Democratic, Republican administrations, a weakening and a strengthening of those rules, but they've remained in effect and as that litigation has played out.
So now with that endangerment finding gone, what happens now?
So today, EPA said that not only were they repealing the endangerment finding, but they also said they were immediately repealing all greenhouse gas limits on cars and trucks.
Yo, these companies are about to have a fucking field day. Holy cow. Holy cow. Like, they're the gas guzzling. Like, you're going to be going down the street and then see just billows of black smoke again. It's going to be ridiculous, man. Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's already happened. And then in the coming months, EPA said it plans to repeal additional limits on greenhouse gases from power plants and other sources as well.
The science that undergirded that first finding has not changed. In fact, the National Academies last year said not only is the science of that original finding accurate, but it's in subsequent years become more evident.
That shit is more true now than it was back then because we have even more proof. But here's the thing. It's like, do you think they are governed by science? No, they're not. I mean, credit where credit is due. Very little credit where credit is due. Operation Warp Speed, that was under Trump. That was highly successful. They cured COVID in like a day and a half. It felt like, you know what I mean? Maybe not a day and a half, but you get what I'm saying. Like, it's incredible that they even figured that shit out so quickly. But now that it's inconvenient to industry, and that's really what it comes down to, right? Like, what's most convenient to industry? That's what America cares about. Like, when COVID was shutting everything down and making it so people didn't want to go to the mall, they figured out a fucking cure, right? Leaders of the world, right? But now that motherfucking cars, or, now that motherfucking cars need to spend money to make sure that they're not killing the fucking planet, fuck that, throw it out. You know what I mean? Fuck the science. I don't give a shit. Like, it's so funny.
How does the administration justify this current move?
So Lee Zeldin.
They're not. I'll let her talk, but they're not. They're not justifying it. They're just like, suck my dick.
EPA administrator said that the Obama administration in 2009, when it issued the endangerment finding, used more dire predictions of how much the planet would warm than it actually would. And in some ways, that is true. In 2009, the Obama administration cited some extreme projections of warming that are no longer as likely to happen because the world has taken some climate action, some efforts to reduce emissions and improve the deployment of renewable energy.
Oh, where's the fire? Where's the fire? When you literally just were pouring a bucket of water on it. The fire's not even that big. The fire's not even that big. It's like, yeah, bitch, because we fucking sprayed it down before you came in the room.
Now stop. Slow motion. I wanna see.